Thank you, and good afternoon, and welcome to this session of the FE Healthcare Summit and Awards. So we have a very distinguished panel. Thank you very much. Thank you, all of you. And without wasting any further time, let's get on straight into the discussion. So the title of this panel is The Future of Medicine, the Changing Landscape. Because I'm a moderator, I looked up the dictionary. So the Cambridge Dictionary says, future is what will happen to someone or something in the time that is to come. And the other dictionary meaning is the chance of continuing success or existence of something. You represent a very diverse set of disciplines and professions, and all of you are extremely distinguished in your fields. Landscape, the Cambridge Dictionary says, means all the features of a situation, and given the limited time of about 40 minutes, we'll see how many features we can address. So what we'll do is we'll do it in 3 rounds. The first and second rounds will have approximately 4 minutes and 3 minutes respectively each for all the panelists. And the last one would be just a wrap-up, rapid-fire round. So if I may start with the lady in the panel, Dr. Basu, if I may request you to open the innings. So in your field, which is gynecology and obstetrics, what are some of the emerging and contemporary challenges that have therapeutic possibilities which we couldn't even imagine 10 years ago? Dr. Basu.
Thank you very much to the organizers and Dr. Kumaran and the Financial Express for having given me the opportunity to be present in this August gathering and for this such a thought-breaking, mind-boggling discussion on technology and the future of healthcare. So I thank everybody, but you see, when we talk of technology, a lot of it is already there, and a lot of it is moving forward. When I started my medical career, it was purely clinical. We didn't have ultrasounds, we didn't have anything else. And it was clinical. At the most, we had X-rays. That was it. But things have moved forward at such a huge speed, tremendous speed, that now we have, even if I enumerate, I don't think I can rattle them off, at the top of my head. We have artificial intelligence and machine learning, the latest buzzword, and it is now across diagnostics and precision and prediction, which we have already heard in the early morning and the discussions that have gone off. Real time, I will concentrate morely on obs and gynae because that is my core expertise. So we have real-time fetal anomaly detection on ultrasound, machine learning models which can predict whether the woman is going to develop blood pressure of pregnancy, preterm labor, gestational diabetes, and in IVF or assisted reproductive techniques, AI is improving embryo selection using time-lapse imaging, morphology screening, implantation rates, reducing multiple pregnancies. Then we also have genomics, epigenetics, precision medicine, pre-genetic testing. The field is enormous, and we have diagnosing PCOS, finding out, predicting them, as we heard earlier. We have robotic and minimally invasive surgery, which is currently in use and is, is growing by leap and bounds with the machines being upgraded and, improved every other day. We have digital health and remote monitoring, which is, enabling people and also will help us in due course to reach the last man standing. And that is very, very important for our healthcare, that we need to develop a system and technology which benefits everyone and not only those who are able to afford the tertiary care centers or the top centers of the hospitals. We have regenerative medicine, tissue engineering, and where we have Asherman syndrome, where can be regenerated and the uterus can be used again for implantation, targeted medical therapies, and of course, smart diagnostics, point of care. But at the end of it all, when we look at it, that we have low, the cost is also very important. The business is there, fine, but I think we need to look at the equity and the availability. And what we have at the moment, a lot of progress is being made. Capacity building is very, very important of the people and everybody else. So I think as far as we can see that our practice, when I started off in practice 45 years ago and today, I think there is a sea change. And a lot of the things, I think all the panelists would also agree that there has been a huge, huge change and for the better. There is no doubt healthcare is, and therefore the longevity has increased. The average age of a woman to, many years ago was about 35, 45, but now it's at 75. So a lot of work is also being done in the postmenopausal group as well, because, one third of the age of a woman is going to be spent in the menopause. So a lot of things are being done, diagnostics, therapeutics, as well as, precision medicine. So I think we have.
Thank you very much for setting the tone. Dr. Shukla, it's almost a similar question in your field, which is orthopedics, rehabilitative surgery. What do you really see the exciting possibilities in the coming decade?
Yeah, well, thank you. I would like to say that we're living in very exciting times because I started my career in orthopedic surgery almost 30 years back. And if I look back and I see what I was doing then, I was taught then, and what I'm doing today, it's a world of a difference. So there's no stopping technology. Technology will come up in better and better ways and bigger ways. And the biggest hurdle, I think, is that the professionals need to catch hold of that technology at the earliest. Because as far as orthopedic surgeons are concerned, we have always been lagging behind the other specialities. For example, if I talk about endoscopes, the urologist started using the endoscope almost 100 years before the orthopedic surgeon decided to start using it. So whereas they started putting the endoscope into the bladder, we continued with big incisions in the joints until our patients started telling us, no, we don't want such big incisions. You start putting in scopes into our joints. And then we went in for arthroscopic surgery. And the same for robotics. The urologist took a lead of almost 2 decades. And we were so slow to catch up. Our robot came in more than 20 years after the urologist started using it. So technology is going to come. It is true that technology comes at a cost, and in the beginning, the cost is so high that you can't offer it to everyone. But that's a fact. I mean, because if you look at this situation, the quality of healthcare in the urban areas, in the metro, is much higher than if you go to small towns, small cities, or small villages. But you can't say, no, I'm not going to make an A-class center in the metro, in the capital of the country, just because I can't offer it to a village in our country. So that will follow. But you have to provide the best quality care wherever you can, starting from one place. And that could be the capital of India, that could be Mumbai, That could be Chennai, it could be anywhere. But then it has to trickle down slowly and slowly. And the more it's brought into use, the more it would spread, the more the costs will come down, and the more the availability will, be able, it would be, accessible to people slowly from all across the country. But yeah, I mean, we're a big country. We have a diverse population. We have our own problems. That's a challenge in itself. But I think the healthcare is doing wonderful. And yes, technology, as far as orthopedic surgeons are concerned, I'd say finally we've woken up to the fact that there's no stopping technology. We have to lap it up as fast as possible. And the ones who start using it first, they always take the lead wherever they are. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Dr. Jaideep Gogtay, the shortest question for you. What are the wonder drugs ahead?
What are the wonder drugs?
Yep.
So I think when we talk today of drugs and treatments, we just don't talk of small molecules which we have been traditionally using. But today, more than 50% of drug development and approvals are actually in the biologic space. So there's a big shift in the thinking from simply giving small molecules to large molecules. And even within biologics, it's not targeting just one particular target. You've got bispecific antibodies, you've got multi-specific antibodies today. In addition to this, the kinds of treatments that are there using mRNA-based therapeutics, or today there are 42 approved cell and gene therapies available across the world. India has 3 or 4. The range of drugs that has now come in is unbelievable and growing year on year. In addition, we have some remarkable advances in the drug formulation and delivery systems. And I'll give an example. Till 2 days ago, the treatment of choice for preventing HIV was 1 pill a day. Today, it can be 2 injections a year with close to 99% efficacy. This is almost like a vaccine that you take 2 shots per year and 99.9% efficacy in terms of prevention of HIV. Of course, this is for the high-risk groups. But this is where we are reaching with drugs, the delivery systems for these drugs, biologics, different types of biologics. Now we are combining a biologic with a small molecule called as antibody-drug conjugates, which means the antibody homes onto a specific target and delivers a payload of a chemotherapy agent directly into the cancer. We have today radioligands, similarly, which go isotopes which go and home in onto a cancer and deliver a drug there. So I think the range of options that is coming up is incredible. At the same time, for some common diseases, we still have one size fit all. Blood pressure, diabetes, we have one size fit all. But for the rest of them, we are increasingly moving from one size fit all. I won't use the term personalized right now, but precision medicine perhaps is a better term right now. And I will end by just saying one thing. If you read the case 1 month ago of an extremely rare disease, enzyme deficiency in a child in the US, in a hospital, extremely rare disease. Scientists took 6 months to develop a personalized gene therapy for that child only. There was no company involved in this, but the academic scientists did that, and the child is actually doing well after receiving the gene therapy. So this is truly personalized. That means it is only for you and not for your person sitting next to you. So I think that's where we are coming to in terms of drugs.
Thank you. Absolutely fascinating. Dr. K. Madan Gopal, we have been friends for more than 20 years, so I have the longest question for you, which is as follows, that these are all very exciting opportunities, and even to start with, Dr. Basu, towards the end of presentation, actually mentioned the issue of affordability, of capacities, and so on. So both the central government and the state governments have invested, have pursued a range of publicly funded insurance schemes, and you have a very sterling career in those fields. So, will these exciting treatments or even diagnostics that lie ahead, or vaccines for that matter, will these really be affordable for the Aam Aadmi? And how are we moving towards that?
Thank you, Rajib. It's a very complex question, but I will try to answer this with few examples. If you look at the way things have progressed in the country, if you go back to early 2000s, where everybody thought that health insurance through a government side is not possible. The ministry was not on board, but somehow we have traveled from RSPY to PMJ program, and now that model is now evolving. That means whatever new things have happened, that can always be factored. Let the things evolve and you will get the answers to that. That's one thing. We have got the answer, we do have the experience. When we started our journey with health insurance, there were only 1 or 2 health insurers out of the 26, 30 insurance companies. They were offering the insurance products. And only the inpatients were covered. Then you see how the retail insurance and the corporate insurance, they go over the years. That experience was there. But in the public sector, that experience was not there, and they were very skeptical that insurance is not for the public sector. It was the thought process at that time in early 2000s. And what has happened, there was some thought process going on that the unorganized workers who were there, they were not covered. They were not coming forward for the treatment. As a result, this RSPY program. At that time, India was having 93% workers working in the unorganized sector. Still, I think the number is the same. To address that issue, the government started with RSPY with a meager sum of 30,000 rupees as a family floater of 5 people. Even if they are having more people, they were having the choice of adding the people. Taking experience from them, we have started. First, we tried to enhance the cap to 1.5 lakhs, and now we are having a PMJ program of 5 lakhs population. Right now, for the ease of administration, the sky is the limit for all any procedures in the PMJ up to 5 lakh rupees per family per year. But for the ease of administration, using technology, 1900 procedures have been listed out. If the experience suggests that more procedures can be added, the NHA is adding more procedures to that. If the unspecified procedures are there, since I was involved in designing the HBO1, that means when the rollout was there, so the option was there. If more experience is there, that means certain procedures are being used more, then they will be having a procedure so as to regulate the process and streamline the approval and the other things. And remember that there would be many things. It is very easy to criticize that kind of programs and other things. If you look at the magnitude, currently around 80 crore population is having one form of insurance or other form of insurance, and PMJ covering around 70 crore population. You see that magnitude, if a 70 crore population is there, and till now they have been able to authorize more than 5 crore treatment, approvals, and around 50,000, more than 50,000 worth of claims have been approved. Think about the magnitude. If such magnitude is there, obviously the system will require time to stabilize. But certain drawbacks are there. It is only now covering the 1900 procedures, the rare disease, the CRT, the robotic surgeries and other things. As the knowledge and other things evolve, I think in the coming years, you would be seeing that they are also covered in these health insurance schemes. But at least that confidence is there that yes, this can work and we can give an assurance, we can have an insurance model and things can work. It has at least set a benchmark into the society that yes, for a particular process, this is there, this is the amount which is required, which is decided by the National Health Insurance Program. That benchmark is there. And now the other private insurance and other, they are revolving around that benchmark and negotiating with the providers. That means, yes, how much you will be charging more than that for if you are bringing a cutting edge and other things. So at least it has set a benchmark. As Manrega did a benchmark for the daily wages. It is also setting a benchmark for creating rates in the community as well as so that the affordability and other things will factor in afterwards. So still, we are struggling to see that how the care in the wider horizon can be made affordable to many of the people. Still, we are having an out-of-pocket expenses of 42%. We target that it should be coming down to 25% so that the catastrophe due to this medical events is not there. We have to still work on that. But more or less, we are moving towards making the things affordable. The schemes which have evolved during the last 15 years, you see that how we are moving towards affordability part. Even the private sector also now they are talking about packages. If you go to any hospital, they say that for a particular process, this is the package which you have to pay. And if you agree to the package, then obviously the scheme and administration becomes very easy. And add on to the packages are there. That means this kind of the government health insurances have been able to push and create a affordability market. That means yes, if you are having this much, the process will be costing this much, and that kind of benchmark has been being created. So we would be moving and we would be seeing that how the other things which are there in this, about antibiotic specific therapies and other things that can always be brought in. But if we try to see that the Western world, what they are doing, they are having a DRG related treatment, but their process is very different. They are having a population which is earmarked and linked to a particular insurance company or a particular provider. Here, that is not the case. Here, I am having choice to ride from AIIMS to any of the big 4 medical institutions. I can go anywhere. But things have evolved. I think in the coming years, you would be seeing more, that more and more therapies and more things would be there. 5 lakh coverage is quite sufficient, and the experience has been hardly less 1% of the claims, they are exhausting this 5 lakh person. That means for a larger population, that means we intend to cover, we have now included the elderly population here, we intend to cover, that means as we gain experience, I think more and more groups would be added to this insurance. That should be there. And to close my thread, one of the important things which has happened and which is revolutionizing the public health understanding is the increasing use of technology. The biomarkers which are there, I think we would be seeing increasing use of the biomarkers for detection of disease, early diagnosis would be there. And then your sensors, biosensors. You see how the care has been changed, because as madam you recall, we used to listen to fetoscope. Now we don't use, if we are able, if a topper is there, if I ask that, are you able to use fetoscope? If he's able to use, then he gets good marks. Because at least from the sensors, he has know that what is the technology which was being used. So these are the 2-3 things I think that will shift us towards making the things more affordable, and we are moving in that direction. It's not that we are not, but it's only the time which will say us that how we evolve. We have seen how the things have evolved. From skepticism to optimism, we have already evolved to that extent. So I will stop here.
Thank you for the optimistic note. To get back to Dr. Shukla, in very specific terms, in let's say the decade ahead, where would you like investments in terms of R&D to be made in the field of orthopedics, traumatology, rehabilitation per se? What do we need to invest in as far as research and development or capacities go?
Well, I would say how to answer your question, because there would be different viewpoints, because investors basically have their own thought. Their thoughts are more profit-driven, and my thought may not be profit-driven. So I don't know whether this question is the right question for me.
This also includes government investments such as ICMR and DHR and so on.
Yes, but I would say that your question is a very apt one, because the only big thing that our country is really lacking in is investment in research and development. And I think we need to make a great change on that front. And you see, the costs are huge. The costs are huge. And the companies have to think about parking resources for that very purpose. And not all research pays off, because a lot of money that you spend on research, you may not get returns from it. But still, I mean, if you try to put money in 10 places for 10 new things, and you hit gold in one of them, I mean, it's going to not only cover the cost for the remaining 9, but also give you more money to probably put more money into research and development. So what I feel is that the first thing is, for all the big enterprises, we've got very big industrialists in our country. I feel it's a big time for them to sit down and think that, yes, putting money into research and development can be, very profitable in the long run, not in the short term. It's not a shortcut. But, once you have got something which is uniquely different from the rest of the world, then of course in this time you have the patents, and then once you have the patents, at least for I think 10 years or 15 years in the beginning, I mean, that's a big time to get back that money. And if, now coming to your question, of course, the one that you wanted me to ask, well, as far as orthopedic surgery is concerned, well, robotics are definitely very much in. We all realize that they, do improve the precision of the surgery, the placement of components, and therefore they would definitely make a difference in the long-term outcomes for patients. So we don't have indigenous very good robots at the moment. Most of them are imported. So that's an area where, yes, you can start designing or developing a robot which is better than the ones available in the international market. And of course, in orthopedic surgery and other surgeries, we're also using a lot of artificial intelligence. So, even in surgery, it helps because it can easily make you, differentiate whether you're cutting some nerve or some blood vessel or you're cutting normal tissue. So, it helps the surgeon. It increases the speed of the surgery. So there are lots of things. Even implants are evolving. So, as I, climbed up the ladder on my journey from the last 30 years, I've seen implants evolving and evolving, and, they're continuing to evolve. So if you have, a team, you can pick up some good engineers. We've got very great IITs in our country, and you can, combine them with some professionals, some orthopedic surgeons, I mean, who are interested in R&D. And then together, they can sort of come up with even better implant designs, because there's a lot of potential in improving implant designs. So, I mean, as a surgeon, I would say that these are the areas, and there are other areas. For example, in joints, you have injury to the cartilage, And earlier, what we used to do is just replace that joint. But gradually, if the defect is small, what we now do is we culture the cell which is responsible for the cartilage, the chondrocyte, and then when we have sufficient cells, we sort of implant it into the defect. So that is also an area, where our country is lacking, and we're basically dependent upon the international, companies for all of these products. So there are lots of products where, yes, R&D would definitely be very much helpful.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Dr. Gogtay, you had laid out a very wide array of exciting possibilities, but in a shorter time frame of say 5 to 10 years, what would you think should be the priorities, particularly keeping into account the disease profile that the country or the population has?
So I think, as we know, we always have a twin epidemic of non-communicable. On top of that, we still have communicable disease, which is not going away. So I think the priority would be, and I will not comment on primary care because that's really been extensively covered. So that's obviously means critical. But I think we see the rapidly growing incidence of cancer. We have more than 1 million new cases diagnosed each year. And as treatments are getting better, we will have cancer survivors going on increasing. So the people who have diagnosed cancer and treated will keep on increasing, and we'll have to work on treating relapses, third relapse, fourth relapse, etc. So I think one certainly area is on cancer, and we see that occurring at a younger age, and we are seeing that reported more and more now occurring. So that's, I think, one clearly an area for priority for us. From a research point of view, if I can take along, I'd mentioned that a lot of government labs are doing some great research. And I know that we've been speaking to a few of them, and we find that there are areas where government labs, industry can actually collaborate. And we are seeing pockets of collaboration beginning. But I think to give it a better shape, there are a couple of areas to be worked on. I think that trust is important between the two. Second, very important, is to build very strong intellectual property around innovation. And that's truly when innovation occurs. We use the term innovation in various ways, but a true innovation is something which is covered by some kind of intellectual property. So if that system is strengthened, we will find that more. And third, I will just make a comment, which I wanted to make previously, is one of the priorities for us should be, as a nation of 1.4 billion and all the limitations that you mentioned, is to prevent people from getting sick in the first place. So whether it is the overall health, whether it is vaccines, whether it is nutritional supplements, whether it is the right diet, is something that I think we should really focus on. And I'll say finally, it's important for all of us, especially I think from the government, to clear myths and misinformations. We are living in an age where we have all sorts of information flying around, whether it's on vaccines or whether it's on some new oils, etc. If there is some way by which some of this information can be verified and clarified to the public in general, I think this is where some of our priorities could be.
Thank you. Dr. Basu, in your field of gynecologic morbidities as well as reproductive health, maternal health, what ought to be the research priorities in, say, a 10-year time frame, both including technologies as well as other priorities?
Thank you for that very important question. And actually, it's riddled with so many other factors which are thrown in, which some of you have mentioned and you have already mentioned. For example, we have to look at healthcare from a point of view that there is this human being at the end of the line. And that human being is to be treated. A procedure has to be done, or some service has to be provided to that. It can be done by technology, it can be done by counseling, it can be done by so many other methods. Prevention, since NCD is rising, preventive care, which has been just mentioned, is very, very important. And it is important that when I say that we have to work on capacity building and getting the information out there, the correct information out there, the health literacy has to be improved. And we need to work a lot on that. Apart from that, if we improve the health of the woman and the child, the nation becomes healthier and it becomes much better. Now, how do we do that? One is prevention, or the mothers, they should be counseled about pre-conceptual counseling. And a lot of things can be, there could be a sort of test or some sort of a screening which can be done, that which are the women which are more at risk of developing genetic diseases. I think if there could be some research done on that, that before women get pregnant, we could have, the whole battery of, information available. After that, once the woman has conceived, diagnosing that there is a problem as early as possible. To that effect, we have, as I already mentioned, we have a lot of tests, like we have the non-invasive testing, the ultrasound with AI built in, and then we have the MRI if needed. But whatever technology or machine is there, everything has its best effect or result by the person behind the machine. And that is why I insist that we must work a lot on capacity building of the doctors, of the medical professionals. If all our technology and the advances, I think the technological world has done wonderful work, but it all needs to be put into the proper perspective and has to be used in the proper way. For example, when we talk about, can these technologies be used by the aam aadmi, so to speak? Well, you see, it depends. For example, from my field, if I say, if a woman has problems with her menstruation or anything, she needs a surgery, it doesn't always have to be a robotic surgery. I think that is also what we as doctors need to convey to our students as they are growing up. Which are the ones which are needed, which can be covered. We have to, at the end of the day, treat a patient with a disease, and we are not only treating a disease with technology and patients. That is very important that we need to remember. Apart from that, cancer research, vaccination has already been mentioned. There is a huge burden of children who are born with disabilities of different kinds. And I think we need to address that. We need to work on them so that they can be integrated into the normal society, develop techniques and methods by which their utility into the society can also be of use, apart from diagnosing them much earlier when they are in utero. Then we have mentioned menopausal women, as I already mentioned, who are alert, sharp, bright, living along. We can work on them and utilize their education and technology, and I think we should work and collaborate with them as well. Then we come to the precision medicine, which has already been mentioned. Then also another thing in the current times, I don't know whether AI would help or technology would help, is in trauma and violence and all those things, if there could be systems, because quite often, and that is why I come back again to capacity building, quite often many people are sort of confused as to what to do in situations. If there could be systems or, programs which can be developed, okay, this is step 1, step 2, and this is how you go about it, it would probably help and give more uniformity of treatment. So I think it would make it more impersonal. For example, if I tell you that there are many people who are very good at communication. I work a lot on communication in healthcare and how to get the right kind of information to the other person so the person understands as to what we are doing with them, the patient and the family. Now, when we talk about this, we need to give them respect and dignity when we are talking to them. And if we could have programs which are not impersonal, where the history is taking is concerned, it is quite phenomenal, the EHR systems. But I think if we could make it more humane, that even if we could add something that, okay, when you see a patient, at least say the pop-up comes up, wish the patient, introduce yourself, or something, these things, if could be integrated, perhaps it would make it impersonal, but it would definitely improve the uptake of the patient, of the treatment that we are going to give them. So we need to work on the women's health, the postpartum health, the contraception, infertility, which is a rising issue, and the latest studies have shown it has gone below the fertility is below the replacement level now. So I think contraception in certain respects, but otherwise infertility, we need to work a lot on that. And I think the medical professionals and the technological experts should join hands so that we produce things and systems which benefit and are more useful. I hats off to the technology people and hats off to our colleagues also we are sort of struggling, we are running behind them. They come up with a new technology and the doctors are running behind them to, cope up with that. I think we need to do a lot of capacity building, a lot of work on communication, because at the end of the day, we are treating humans and we must not forget that.
Thank you. And thank you for focusing on some of the so-called softer areas. Dr. Madan Gopal, just to wrap up this panel and the overall landscape. So in the final run-up, or the final phase of the run-up that we are in for the Sustainable Development Goals 2030, how do you see, or how do you prioritize the roadmap in the next few years, keeping the future of medicine in mind?
If you look at the progress of Sustainable Development Goal, we are moving in the right direction. That means if you talk about the maternal mortality ratio, so we have envisaged that we should be reaching 70 by 2030, and already the recent SRS says is 92. And many of the states, they have already reached less than 70. That's one indication that we are moving in the right direction and things are placed. But side by side, in the coming years, the priority should be the innovation should go hand in hand. Because a lot of innovations are required, because we have to cater to 1.4. Even if I make 1 lakh beds today, they all would be taking unless we invest into the preventive side. The government is already investing into the preventive side, and if you look at the 4 pillars, one of the pillars is Ayushman Bharat Health and Wellness Center, which is now known as Ayushman Arogya Mandir, where we are exclusively focusing on the wellness activities. And right now, that peripheral most institution manned by a staff nurse is catering to a population of 3,000 to 5,000, depending on the terrain and other things. So we have made a reach up to that level. We are increasingly focusing on the wellness activities so that the preventive, promotive, and the rehabilitative aspects are covered. The curative can always be taken care at the secondary level. That's one thing. Second thing, as we are progressing towards signatory for the universal health coverage, we have to see that how the insurance coverage increases. That's the second priority I think we should be focusing on, that how the insurance coverage increases. So we are already working on that. Many of the states, I think if you look at the states have identified this issue. That means this political mileage is also there, as well as the welfare of the people is there. So you would be, in the coming years, you would be seeing many of the people would be talking that let us increase this coverage from 5 lakhs to 10 lakhs, from 10 lakhs to 20 lakhs, 20 lakhs to 25 lakhs. That kind of thoughts you would be hearing, but things are in place and we would be investing more into this health insurance, and you would be seeing more on that. And the third important priority is the building capacities into the human resources. That's a very challenging area because we all talk about the demographic dividend. Our average life is around 29 years. So average age of the population 29 years. But if you look at the BMI and the problem of the overweight and the obesity, you would be seeing that what kind of demographic. We have to preserve the demographic dividend for addressing the issues related to NCD, non-communicable disease. We require capacities in the health system. And we can have capacities, things are in place. We do have electronic training programs for the medical officers, Center for Excellences have been made. So that whatever Dr. Basu has mentioned about the pre-conception thing as well as during conception and after that, the genetic program, the sickle cell program is already there, which is providing this, under which a lot of Center for Excellences are coming up, which can cater to the prenatal diagnosis and the conception. Side by side, many things are also evolving, but as the time is up, I would be just wrapping up. These are the 3 priorities, I think, for continuing the journey of the achievement of the SDGs. I think we should be progressing in that. Thank you.
Thank you very much, and thank you for your patient hearing. An absolute pleasure and privilege to moderate this panel. Thank you very much. Thank you, everyone.